Federal Aviation Administration has finalized its first set of rules for operators of small unmanned aircraft systems, commonly known as drones. The regulations will take effect late next month and include stipulations on when and where people can fly their crafts. Pilots must be at least 16 years old and have proper certification requirements. Flights can take place during daylight and twilight hours, but some restrictions on flying may be eased through waivers. Earlier this week, we talked with Nebraska Extension's Woldt to learn more about the rules and started by asking about why these regulations exist.
Well, a lot of the reason is because of economic uses. Unmanned aircraft, which are now going to be legal to fly in our national airspace in about 60 days when the regulations become final and are fully implemented, have the potential for real significant economic impacts, especially to agriculture. In fact, agriculture is projected to be about 70% of the unmanned aircraft market going forward. And the unmanned aircraft market is projected to be huge, in the multiple billions of dollars. So there was a lot of economic pressure to bring this technology into our national airspace system to use for beneficial purposes. And if I can add, the technology itself is really advanced to where it can do amazing things.
Wayne, you fly about once a week over a lot of crop ground. What do you think are the benefits to using drones? What are the challenges?
Well, the unmanned aircraft provides such a view of landscapes. It's an unparalleled view and fairly difficult to get otherwise, from the ground, for example. So that view, when you're managing large parcels of land, is just incredibly powerful.
And the challenges?
Challenges are tied mostly to the rules, understanding the rules and regulations, the technology. There's some training involved with the technology to really get proficient with it. But otherwise, it's just bringing it together and implementing it.
What has changed? What does a producer or a farmer or a crop consultant need to know if they want to use this kind of technology?
To fly an unmanned aircraft, you need to have what's called a remote control pilot certificate. So there's a new pilot certificate that's going to be available under these rules. You attain that certificate by either passing a test, or if you're an existing manned aviation pilot, you take a short online training session.
Walk me through a flight. What can you do? What can't you do under these new regulations?
The rules themselves are quite voluminous. There's a lot of rules. It's called Part 107 of the Federal Aviation Regulations. And basically what they do is they allow for commercial flight of unmanned aircraft that now can be used in a setting similar to what other aircraft are used, except there are altitude limitations. For example, unmanned aircraft are currently limited to 400 foot above ground level. That's the maximum height that they can be flown.
So is there line of sight regulations? Can you fly over certain areas? Can you not fly over others?
Yes, the line of sight is a requirement. That's a pretty big requirement, that unmanned aircraft need to remain within what's called visual line of sight of the pilot in command or a visual observer. And that has to be unaided visual line of sight. In other words, you can't use binoculars to help with that. It has to be by the eye or with corrective lenses.
But otherwise, the old rules said that a hobbyist could use it. A farmer could go use it, scout his crops, but not necessarily use that information, correct? And now under these new rules, you can use it for any purpose you wish?
Yes, commercial use is going to be legal.
What's the privacy issue with these regulations?
Well, the regulations themselves don't address privacy. The Federal Aviation Administration, which is responsible for maintaining the safety of our national airspace, and they're also the ones that wrote these rules, are not charged by Congress to deal with privacy issues. The Federal Aviation Administration views privacy as more of a local issue. So it could be a local regulation or state regulation, but the rules themselves are moot or silent on the issue of privacy.
So I can fly a drone over your land legally?
That's correct, as long as you follow the Federal Aviation rules and regulations. Just like any other aircraft can fly over my land legally. But those aircraft that are flying over my land would need to follow the aviation rules. For piloted aircraft, the minimum altitude you typically are allowed to go would be 1,000 foot above ground level.
This question has been asked before, but the landowner, do they have any rights? Can they make any action, as in shoot the drone down?
Shooting at an aircraft is illegal. That's a federal law. And since the Federal Aviation Administration defines unmanned aircraft as aircraft, they also fall under that rule that it makes it against the law to shoot at an aircraft.
On the Market Journal website, we'll link to the FAA's operational rules for commercial use of small unmanned aircraft systems.